And finally tonight, a budding movement that suggests changes in millennials' relationship with alcohol. Hari Srinivasan has our story from New York.
New York City, Times Square. This party started just before sunrise. For more than 5 years, Daybreaker has hosted these early morning events around the world. People come out for 2 hours of dancing, but alcohol is strictly off the table.
Drinking gets in the way of dancing a lot. People are always making trips to the bars, people have drinks on the dance floor, they're engaged with their drink instead of engaged with other people.
Daybreaker's goal is to be healthy and have fun while staying substance-free.
It changed the way I go out too, so I feel like I don't need to drink now. I don't need to, have anything in my body and just enjoy the dancing.
It's part of a growing idea called Sober Curious. People who don't misuse or abuse alcohol trying out alcohol sobriety. The movement, still in its infancy, is not meant for those recovering from substance abuse problems.
It describes a questioning mindset that can be applied to any and all drinking occasions.
Ruby Warrington coined the term in her book Sober Curious. We caught up with her at Getaway Bar in Brooklyn, where mocktails are the main event.
For millennials and Gen Zs, alcohol consumption is way, way down. And I think there are a few things playing into it. One is that people are just much better educated about the different ways that what we consume influences our well-being, whether it's the food and drink we consume or whether it's the media we consume.
And although Sober Curiosity hasn't reached every corner of the country, booze-free bars like this one have popped up in Illinois, Maine, and even the UK. It gives people choosing sobriety from alcohol a chance to get out and socialize without the pressure of drinking. People like wellness coach and yoga teacher Emily Nahazel.
I am not an alcoholic. I am not totally sober, but I go through periods of my life where I'm not drinking, or I go to events and I choose not to drink. And really just questioning that relationship. Is this something that I want to do right now versus kind of doing it all the time?
Nahazel says sober curiosity makes sense for a lot of millennials.
We are a generation of wanting more, and not just in a want more money, but we want to know ourselves better. We want to be the healthiest. We want to have jobs that we're passionate about. And so this is another space where we are able to get to know ourselves.
NYU clinical psychologist Belinda Carrasco says although this generation is less alcohol-centric, millennials struggle with alcohol in their own way.
Think about millennials. They mostly relate with one another digitally. But what happens when you don't sort of develop those skills to navigate interpersonal, not only relationships, but also interpersonal conflict? Then perhaps alcohol plays a role. And it's not only the social lubricant, but again, it's an attempt to self-soothe, manage anxiety, self-medicate.
Carrasco says millennials certainly aren't the first to try out sobriety.
Sobriety has existed for the longest of time. It's more about the rebranding, right?
We, the jury, find the defendant.
Oh, it's non-alcoholic.
Even big alcohol is getting in on this booze-free trend. Companies like Coors, Heineken, and even Guinness now offer alcohol-free beers.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And craft brewers like Brooklyn Brewery, who recently released its first non-alcoholic beer called Special Effects. Robin Ottaway is the brewery's president.
What do we do when we drink? We get together with friends or family, we socialize, it's conviviality, right? And those moments are pretty important to us as humans. If you can extend those moments and not have some of the negative effects, that's pretty good.
It's potentially risky for these smaller companies to venture outside their normal products, but Ottaway says they couldn't pass up the opportunity to market to more people, including millennials.
They're growing up in a completely different world and have different spending and consumption habits, and I think our timing has proven to be pretty good.
A survey funded by the National Institutes of Health confirms that thinking. Alcohol use among young people has been on the decline since the mid-90s. That is happening even as marijuana use is rising. The same survey found in 2018 nearly 40% of young adults used marijuana, compared to 25% in the mid-90s.
Drop the hands down to the heart, arms by your side.
But the toll of alcohol addiction is far larger. For millennials who are simply trying to test out sobriety, it's not always easy to forgo drinking.
It seems so embedded in our culture right now. Well, let's go grab a drink.
Yeah, try dating without alcohol. To be fair, I've had a lot of men be totally fine with it. Yeah, let's meet for coffee. But meeting someone new one-on-one is challenging enough.
And yes, there's an app for that.
Sober dating, there's sober travel, sober events, sober groups. So think of it, for lack of a better example, as like a sober Facebook.
MJ Gottlieb, who's been sober for 7 years, created Lucid to help connect people practicing sobriety, even the sober curious.
One of the biggest reasons why I didn't get sober for so long is I found myself invariably at diners, and coffee shops. And I was like, if this is all there is, I'm going to continue to use, which I did.
For people like Gottlieb, the sober curious movement is having a positive side effect, creating more safe spaces to socialize for those in recovery. Ruby Warrington believes because people now have more choices, the sober curious movement will stick around.
Once you've kind of opened the door of sober curiosity, it's very hard to go back to just drinking, blindly accepting hangovers as a part and parcel of life.
Emily Nahazel has certainly latched onto the idea and says she's now very intentional about her use of alcohol.
I can have a good time without alcohol.
Are you surprised by that?
No, but I think we lean into it. And there are other ways that you can feel good. There's other ways you can be social without having alcohol.
For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Hari Srinivasan in Brooklyn, New York.
So interesting. And on the NewsHour online, as the end of the year approaches, you may be looking for books to give as gifts or to read on vacation. Senior correspondent Jeffrey Brown and the rest of the NewsHour staff have some ideas. Explore a few dozen of the books we read this year and maybe add them to your own bookshelf. That's on our website, pbs.org/newshour.